Arrival of the strangers. The skies above the planet Xyrentha were calm. Twin moons glowed gently. Birds with crystal feathers flew high in the air. In the capital city, alien women walked with pride. They were tall, strong, and powerful. Their skin shone with colors, blue, silver, and violet. Their society was ruled by females. They believed alien males were strong and useful only for guarding, lifting, and fighting. To them, males were not leaders. And humans? Just weak little animals, from a distant star. That belief shattered one quiet evening. A loud roar broke the peaceful air. People looked up. A ship, small and damaged, cut across the sky. Smoke trailed behind it. It crashed just outside the city walls in the wastelands. The guards rushed out. Curious citizens followed. The Queen's best warrior, Vera, led the Yaw. Team Vera had never lost a fight. Her armor was black and red. Her eyes were sharp and cold. She did not laugh. She did not trust outsiders, especially not soft ones. The group reached the crash site quickly. The ship was metal and strange. It hissed with heat. The front door opened slowly. Out walked a human. He was not tall like alien warriors. He had no horns, no sharp teeth, no tail. His body was covered in simple armor and his face was calm, though his lip bled a little. He stood still. Then he raised one hand and said, "We come in peace. Please don't shoot." Some alien women laughed. Others stared. Their males stood, behind, growling softly. Vera walked forward and looked at the human carefully. "You are not what I expected," she said coldly. "I get that a lot," the human replied. "Name's Commander Raylan. Our ship was damaged by a storm. We mean no harm." More humans came out. 3 men, 2 women. All looked tired but alert. Vera narrowed her eyes. "You are small, weak-looking. You should not have survived the crash." Raylan gave a small smile. "We humans are stubborn. We don't die easy." Vera didn't smile back. Behind her, one of the alien males growled, "These things are useless. Throw them in the mines." But the Queen's advisor stepped forward. "Wait, let us test them. Let them show us what they can do." A crowd gathered. Quickly, alien females whispered to each other. What if they cry? What if they run away? They are too soft. Raylan looked around and spoke loudly. "I challenge your strongest, not to fight, to test." Vera raised one eyebrow. "What kind of test?" He pointed to a heavy stone block nearby. "Let me lift that." The crowd laughed. "That's the training stone," someone shouted. "Even our males take turns lifting it." Raylan walked to the block. He studied it carefully, then took off his armor's shoulder pieces. His muscles weren't large, but they were tight and solid. He wrapped his hands around the base of the stone, bent his knees, and with a deep breath, he lifted. The crowd fell silent. He didn't lift it high, just enough to prove it wasn't fake. His arms shook, his face turned red. But he did it. He placed it down gently and stepped back. Vera looked at him, something strange in her chest. She had expected failure, or pain. But he showed focus. Not wild strength, calculated will. "You are not like your kind in the archives," she said slowly. "I hope not," Raylan replied. "We've changed. We're more than our muscles." A silence spread again. Then someone shouted, "Have him fight Gorvak, one of our males!" Raylan sighed. "Is fighting the only language you speak?" Vera stepped in. "No, but here, strength means survival." He met her eyes. "Then let me show you a different kind of strength." Vera felt something strange in her stomach. This man, this human, was not afraid of her. And somehow he wasn't trying to dominate either. She turned to her team. "Bring the humans to the guest quarters. Feed them. I will speak to the Queen." Raylan bowed slightly. "Thank you." As he walked past her, he said softly, "You're not what I expected either." Vera stood still, watching him. Her warriors whispered behind her. That night, under the twin moons, Vera stood on a balcony alone. She could not stop thinking about that calm voice, and the way he looked at her. Not with fear, not with hunger, but with respect. And it was the first time in her life that her heart had skipped a beat. Something was changing, and it all started with the arrival of the strangers. The next morning, the air in Zirentha was thick with whispers. Everyone, young and old, was talking about the humans. Most of them had never seen Earth people before, and no one had ever imagined that such small, plain-looking creatures could lift the sacred training stone. Some thought it was luck, others called it a trick. But all of them were curious, and curiosity in Zirentha always led to a trial. Inside the palace courtyard, Queen Talira sat on her floating throne, watching the scene below with glowing eyes. Her royal guard stood behind her, still and silent. But Vera was not calm. She stood at the edge of the courtyard, her eyes fixed on Raylan, the human who had arrived from the stars and changed everything in just one night. Raylan stood quietly beside two of his crew, stretching his arms and looking around. He wasn't smiling, he wasn't proud, he just looked focused, ready, and that made the alien crowd even more uneasy. The queen raised her hand and spoke, her voice loud and clear. Alien males have always proven their worth through strength and combat. If a human wants our respect, let him face one of our own in trial. A loud cheer erupted. Across the courtyard, a huge alien male stepped forward. Gorvak, known for smashing boulders with his bare hands. His horns were thick and his claws sharp. His body was covered in heavy armor. He smiled at Raylan with mockery. I will try not to crush you too badly, Softskin. Raylan didn't flinch. I don't need to crush you. I just need to outsmart you. The queen nodded. This trial will not be to the death. It will be a match of strength, skill, and control. The first to fall or surrender will lose. Begin. The circle cleared. Gorvak rushed forward, roaring like a beast. He swung a heavy fist toward Raylan's head, but the human ducked, rolled, and stepped back. The alien crowd gasped. Raylan didn't fight with brute force, he used speed, precision, and timing. Gorvak charged again, arms wide, ready to tackle. Raylan sidestepped at the last second, grabbed the alien's arm, and used Gorvak's own speed to flip him off balance. The big warrior crashed into the stone floor, growling in anger. The alien females leaned forward, eyes wide. This was not what they expected. Gorvak got up fast and charged again. This time Raylan let him get close, then dropped low and punched hard, not at the face or chest, but at a nerve spot just below the ribs. Gorvak grunted and staggered back, stunned. Raylan stood still and said calmly, You're strong, but you don't think. You swing wildly and hope fear will win, but fear doesn't work on me. Vera watched, heart racing. She had trained with Gorvak. She had seen him defeat 3 males at once, but here was Raylan, smaller and lighter, controlling the fight without rage or noise. He moved like water, never stiff, never predictable. Gorvak roared again and lifted a nearby stone block. He threw it at Raylan in frustration. The human rolled under it, then leaped and landed a kick straight to the alien's jaw. Gorvak stumbled, knees shaking. The crowd was silent. Then Raylan stepped back and spoke. You can keep fighting, but I won't. This match is over. Gorvak fell to his knees, coughing. He did not rise. The queen stood, eyes sharp. You refuse to finish the fight? Raylan nodded. I came to survive, not to conquer. If I wanted blood, I'd be no better than a beast. There was another long silence. Then a sound came from behind. A slow clap. It was Vera. She stepped forward, her voice calm but strong. He won. Not just with strength, but with mind, with control. Gorvak lost, not because he was weak, but because he couldn't see past brute power. The queen looked at Vera, then at the crowd. Slowly, other female warriors began to nod. They had never seen this kind of strength. Not loud, not cruel, just quiet and sharp. Something about it pulled at them in ways they couldn't explain. Later that evening, while the city buzzed with talk, Raylan sat alone in the human quarters, wrapping a bandage around his shoulder. A soft knock came at the door. Vera entered. She didn't say anything at first, she just looked at him. Then she said quietly, "What kind of male walks into danger wins, and then refuses to celebrate?" Raylan looked up and smiled gently. The kind who knows winning is not the same as proving worth. Vera stepped closer. Our world is starting to whisper your name. Some are afraid. Others are curious. And some, like me, don't know what to feel. Raylan stood up slowly and said, "Then come find out. I'm not hiding." And for the first time, the strongest female warrior on Zyrantha felt unsure. Not in battle, but in her heart. The story of the human spread faster than light across Zyrantha. Markets buzzed with gossip. Training halls were silent as instructors showed clips of Raylan's match. Young alien girls giggled and asked their elders, "Why is he so calm?" Elder females shook their heads, unsure whether to be impressed or disturbed. Commander Raylan didn't try to become a hero. He didn't show off. He trained quietly in the mornings, walked the palace gardens alone in the afternoons, and spent evenings with his crew reviewing their ship's repairs. But even with his quiet ways, alien eyes followed him everywhere, especially the eyes of the females. At first, it was just curiosity. They peeked at him from behind crystal trees. They watched him stretch his arms, move his fingers, adjust his clothing. His body wasn't large like alien males, no horns, no tails, but he moved with quiet confidence. Not slow, not fast, just right, controlled. Soon the younger alien girls began to approach him. One offered him fruit. Another asked to see his weapon. One bold teenager even asked if she could touch his weird, smooth skin. Raylan always smiled politely, answered their questions, and never acted proud. That only made them more curious. But no one watched. Him more than Vera. She didn't show it. She stayed distant. She didn't speak much during meetings. But when Raylan trained alone in the courtyard, Vera often stood on a tower above, pretending to guard. Her eyes never left him, and each time she watched, her chest felt tight. Vera was a warrior. She had trained since childhood. She had fought on mountain cliffs and inside burning ruins. But nothing made her feel nervous. Until Raylan's voice echoed in her mind at night. That calm voice, that fearless look. Something inside her had shifted, and she didn't know what to do about it. One day, as Raylan helped a young alien girl fix her energy blade, an older alien male approached. He was tall, muscular, with gray skin and golden armor. His name was Zarduk, a respected war leader and former trainer of Vera. He watched for a moment, arms crossed. Then he growled, "Is this what humans do? Teach softness instead of power?" Raylan looked up without fear. "I'm teaching her how not to hurt herself. Isn't that what a real teacher does?" Zarduk scoffed. "Real warriors don't waste time with careful words." Raylan smiled. "Maybe that's why so many of them die early." The young girl gasped. A few guards nearby chuckled. Zarduk narrowed his eyes. "Careful, human. The more you speak, the more you disturb our ways." Raylan stood slowly. "If truth is a disturbance, maybe your ways need to be disturbed." Word of that exchange spread like wildfire. That evening, Vera entered the Queen's chamber. The Queen, sitting beside a pool of glowing water, didn't look up. "You care for him," the Queen said without turning. Vera froze. "I didn't say that. You didn't have to," the Queen replied calmly. "The way your eyes follow him, the way your tone changes when his name is spoken." Vera remained quiet. The Queen continued, "Zyrantha is changing Vera. The females see something in this human they've never seen in our males. Not just strength, not just skill, but kindness, warmth. He respects them, not because he wants control, but because he sees value." Vera clenched her jaw. "I don't know what I feel." The Queen turned now, looking into Vera's eyes. "You feel seen. For the first time, someone looks at you and sees more than just your armor. That night, Vera didn't sleep. She walked the training grounds alone. Then just before sunrise, she made a decision. She knocked on the human quarters. Raylan answered, shirtless and slightly confused. "Vera, everything okay?" She stepped in without asking. "Fight me." Raylan blinked. "Now?" "I need to understand," she said, voice firm. "I need to know what you are." Raylan picked up his gloves. "All right, but no crowd, no rules, just truth." They stepped into the empty training hall. At first, Vera attacked fast, her body moving, like fire. Raylan blocked, dodged, countered. She tried to break his rhythm, but he kept finding balance. Every hit he landed was gentle, but precise. Every time she got close, her breath caught. Their eyes locked too many times. Then, after 10 minutes, they both stopped, sweating, breathing hard. Vera stepped close. "I don't understand. You don't fight like our males. You don't try to win." Raylan looked into her glowing violet eyes. "I don't want to defeat you, Vera. I want to understand you." Her lips parted slightly. Her fingers brushed his arm. "I can't sleep," she whispered. "You're in my head, and I hate it. But I don't want it to stop either." Raylan leaned in closer. "Then don't stop it." Their faces were inches apart when a loud voice called from outside. "Queen's orders. Raylan is summoned." Vera stepped back quickly. Her warrior mask returned. "Go," she said, "but come back." Raylan nodded, his heartbeat racing. "I will." And as he walked away, Vera touched her chest. For the first time in her life, she wondered what it meant to want someone, not just for battle, but for something deeper. The palace halls buzzed with tension. The Queen's summons meant one thing. Raylan had become more than just a guest. He was now a subject of concern, even fear. The alien females whispered his name like a secret they didn't want to give up. The males, however, were not whispering. They were growling, especially Zarduk. Once a proud trainer of warriors, Zarduk had lost his students to a human's charm. Girls who once looked up to him now sat in circles discussing Raylan's words, his movements, his thoughts. Zarduk had spent years building his power through muscle and fear, and now a human, slim, quiet, and clever, had stolen that attention without trying. The Queen sat tall in her silver throne as Raylan stepped into the royal chamber. Her long fingers tapped the side of her seat, her glowing eyes fixed on him. "You've stirred my city like a storm, Commander," she said. Raylan stood straight. "That wasn't my goal, Your Highness." "But it happened," she replied. "My daughters look at you as if they've seen a new sun. My male warriors have stopped training and started complaining. And even my most loyal guard, Vera, looks distracted." Raylan kept his voice calm. "If ideas can shake your world so easily, maybe your world needed to be shaken." The Queen leaned back, a small smirk on her lips. "You're bold, human." Raylan's voice didn't waver. "No, just honest." The Queen dismissed him after that, saying only, "Be careful. Jealous fire burns faster than you think." He didn't fully understand her warning, until that night. The moonlight glowed cold across the training grounds. Raylan walked back from a mechanical check on their ship when Zarduk stepped in front of him, armored, furious, and breathing heavy. 3 male guards stood behind him, silent but watching. "You poisoned our women's minds," Zarduk hissed. "You walk like a king and act like a savior." "I walk like a man," Raylan replied, "and I act like someone who respects people, not uses them." Zarduk's fist came fast. Raylan ducked, but not fully. His shoulder caught the edge, sending him stumbling. Pain shot through his arm, but he stayed standing. "You want to challenge me now?" Raylan asked, raising his hands. "No. I want to end you," Zarduk growled, lunging again. Raylan had no weapon, just reflex. He twisted, grabbed Zarduk's arm, and threw his weight sideways. The two crashed into the dirt, and Raylan used the moment to push away, breathing hard. The other males didn't join the fight, they watched. Testing. waiting to see who had the fire. Then suddenly a roar split the night. "Enough!" Vera's voice thundered from above. She leaped down. From the tower, her boots smashing into the stone with a loud crack. Her eyes burned. "This isn't a challenge, this is jealousy." Zarduk stood growling. "He's turned you soft." Vera walked up to him close, her nose inches from his. "No. He made me think. Something you never dared to do." Then, she turned to Raylan, breathing heavy. "Are you all right?" Raylan nodded, wiping a trickle of blood from his lip. "Nothing broken? Just bruised ego." She stepped even closer and touched his arm. "Come with me." She led him away from the gathering crowd. Behind them, whispers followed like wind in the trees. They entered the old council room, empty now. Moonlight spilled through the high windows. Vera didn't speak for a moment. She just stood there, fists clenched, trying to control something inside her. Raylan spoke softly. "Why do they hate me so much?" "Because you didn't bow," she said. "You came here and didn't try to prove anything. You simply were different. And they don't know how to beat that." He took a breath. "And you? Do you hate me too?" She turned slowly. Her eyes softened. "No. I hate that you've made me feel things I've never allowed myself to feel." He stepped forward. "Then don't fight it." "I'm not used to softness," she whispered. Raylan brushed her hair back gently. "I'm not asking you to be soft. Just real." She looked at him for a long time. Her hand touched his chest. His hand covered hers. "I'm burning inside," she said quietly. "Not with anger, with something I don't understand." He leaned in close enough to feel her breath. "Maybe we'll understand it together." And just as their lips nearly touched, a sharp sound echoed, a horn blast from outside. They stepped back instantly, alert. Vera spoke fast. "That's the palace alarm. The Queen is calling all senior guards." Raylan grabbed his communicator. "Something's happening." She nodded, already moving. "Come, stay close." And as they ran side by side into the night-lit halls, the fire inside them still burned. No longer jealousy or rage, but something new, something dangerous, something beautiful. The palace was glowing with warning lights, pulsing red across the walls like a heartbeat. Every corridor filled with rushing guards and nervous servants. Vera moved fast, her steps sharp and focused, but Raylan kept up beside her. Neither of them spoke as they entered the Queen's command hall. The Queen stood tall before a floating screen showing a group of strange ships moving near the planet's outer border. "Unknown vessels," she said coldly. "No signal, no response." "They're not ours?" Vera asked. "No," the Queen replied, "and they're not human either." Raylan looked at the ship's markings, dark, spiked, moving in odd formations. "Pirates," he said. "Scavengers. They follow damaged ships like vultures. My people call them shadows." The Queen's eyes narrowed. "Why now?" Raylan shook his head. "They probably saw our ship fall and followed the trail here. They think Zyrentha is weak." The Queen stepped back. "They will find out how wrong they are." She turned to Vera. "Prepare the outer defenses, and take him with you. If this is his fault, he will help fix it." Vera gave a quick nod. "Yes, my Queen." As they left, Vera handed Raylan a combat device. "Not as strong as your Earth weapons, but it'll keep you alive." He nodded. "You don't have to protect me, you know." "I'm not protecting you," she said with a tight smile. "I'm protecting what you've started." They boarded a hovercraft with 2 other guards and sped toward the city's edge. The mood was tense. Even the guards who once hated Raylan now looked to him with hope. He had proven himself once. Maybe he could again. The sky darkened as the ships approached. Soon, the shadows began to land. Black-armored raiders poured out, firing wild energy, bolts. Screams echoed across the city's edge. Vera leaped into battle without hesitation, her twin blades flashing like lightning. Raylan followed her lead, using his device to disable enemy armor and strike pressure points. For over an hour, They fought together, side by side, breath by breath. Vera had never worked with someone like him. Raylan didn't need to be ordered. He read her moves, covered her blind spots, and saved her more than once. And when she fell, just for a moment, pinned by a raider's heavy weapon, Raylan didn't think. He threw himself over her, took the hit on his arm, and rolled with her behind cover. She stared at him, shocked. "You took that for me?" He gritted his teeth. "I told you I'm not here to conquer. I'm here to stand with you." Her eyes burned, but not with anger, with something deeper, something dangerous. By nightfall, the shadows were retreating. Their leader was captured, their weapons broken. The people of Zyrentha stood outside their homes, chanting, not just for Vera, but for the human, Raylan. Later, inside a healing chamber, Vera helped clean the wound on Raylan's arm. Her hands were rough, but her touch was careful. "You're lucky," she said softly. "Another inch and you would have lost that arm." He chuckled. "Still worth it." She paused. "You shouldn't say things like that." "Why not?" "Because I'm starting to believe you mean them." He looked up at her. "I do." A long silence filled the room. The tension between them had grown heavy, no longer just curiosity, but something real. Something neither of them could ignore. Vera stepped back. "Raylan, if anyone finds out how I feel, how I look at you, they'll strip me of rank. Maybe exile me." "Why?" he asked. "Because our law forbids bonding with outsiders," she said. "Our males already see you as a threat. If the strongest female warrior bonds with a human, it will cause war in our own city." Raylan stood, wincing a little. "Then let it cause war." She turned sharply. "Don't say that." "I'm not afraid," he said. "Not of your laws, not of your people. I've faced worse. But what scares me is walking away from something that feels this real." She stepped closer. "And if I lose everything? Then we'll face it together." She didn't reply right away. Instead, she pressed her forehead to his, an old warrior sign of trust. And in that moment, without any words, something passed between them. A bond that no law could break. They kissed. It wasn't rushed or wild. It was deep, quiet, burning with all the fire they had held back for days. When they pulled apart, Vera whispered, "We will keep it secret, just for now." Raylan nodded. "I'm not going anywhere." But even as they stood together in silence, they knew one thing: secrets never stayed hidden forever, especially when hearts were involved. 3 days passed since the Shadow Raiders were defeated, but peace did not return to Zyrentha. Something heavier than war now lingered in the air: rumors. It started as whispers in the training halls. Vera was seen holding the human's hand. Then it spread to market stalls. She bled for him. She guards him with her life. And finally, it reached the Queen's throne room. They say the warrior and the human share the same quarters. Vera tried to hide it. She trained twice as hard. She barked orders louder than before, but it was no use. The fire between her and Raylan was no longer a secret. It burned too bright. And in a society ruled by tradition, that kind of fire was dangerous. The Queen summoned Vera in private. The throne room was quiet. No guards, no servants, just the Queen and her warrior. "You are one of my finest," the Queen said, her voice calm. "You've never failed me until now." Vera stood straight. "I've done nothing wrong." "You've broken the old law," the Queen replied. "You've let your heart bind to an outsider, a human." Vera didn't flinch. "He saved my life. He fought for our people. He respects our way. Is that wrong?" The Queen's tone sharpened. "It is not what he's done. It is what others now believe they can do. 2 more guards requested bonds with other humans this morning. You have started something we cannot control." Vera's jaw clenched. "Maybe. Control is the problem." The Queen stepped closer. "This is not about love, Vera. It's about balance. Our males are already angry. The city is dividing. You must end this before it burns everything. I can't, Vera said quietly. The Queen's eyes narrowed. Then you must face the trial of the heart. Vera's eyes widened. That trial hasn't been used in a generation. And yet, the Queen said, you have brought us back to that edge. That evening the courtyard filled with thousands. Fire lanterns lit the sky. Warriors stood in a circle. In the center stood Raylan and Vera side by side. The Queen's voice echoed across the chamber. Tonight we witness the trial of the heart. If this bond is real, they will survive. If not, they will fall apart. The rules were simple. Vera and Raylan must face a test together. A series of challenges, physical, mental, emotional. Each one meant to push them apart, meant to break the connection. Raylan whispered, "What happens if we fail?" "They will exile us," Vera replied. "Or worse." He looked into her eyes. "Then we don't fail." The first test was combat. A pair of trained warriors stepped forward, armored and fierce. Raylan and Vera were given nothing but wooden staffs. They had to fight, not just to win, but to protect each other. The crowd watched in silence as they moved like shadows. Every time Raylan stumbled, Vera covered him. When Vera slipped, Raylan blocked the blow. They were not perfect, but they were together, and that was stronger than perfect form. The second test was mental. They were each given a puzzle, symbols from Zyrentha's ancient history. If one failed to solve it, both would be punished with electric shocks. Vera struggled. Her hands shook. Sweat ran down her face. Raylan reached over and touched her hand. "Don't think like a soldier. Think like a child. Patterns, not power." She took a breath. And then, slowly, solved it. The crowd murmured in surprise. The final test was the hardest. The Queen herself stepped down into the circle, carrying 2 weapons. "Now," she said, "one must pretend to betray the other." Raylan and Vera looked at each other in silence. "If your bond is real," the Queen continued, "you'll know it's only a test. But if your trust breaks, so does your chance." The Queen handed Raylan a blade. "Choose, human. Point it at her, or at yourself." Raylan's hand trembled. He looked at Vera. Her eyes begged him not to hesitate, but didn't say a word. He raised the blade and pointed it toward himself. The crowd gasped. Vera stepped forward instantly and grabbed the blade, turning it away. "No," she shouted, "you can't. You won't bleed for me again." She threw the blade to the ground. The Queen raised her hand. Silence. Then she spoke. "The trial is complete. The bond is proven." Gasps turned into cheers, whispers into chants. But not all voices were happy. In the shadows of the courtyard, Zartuk watched, teeth clenched. The old guard around him did not cheer. Their eyes burned with anger. Later that night, Raylan and Vera sat alone on the high terrace of the palace. Stars shimmered above them. The world below had changed. "You could have died," Vera whispered. "But I didn't," Raylan said, gently touching her hand. "Because you stopped me." "You trust me that much?" He smiled. "With my life." She leaned against him, her armor cold but her body warm. "We passed the trial, but the real war might still come." He nodded. "Then we'll face it, like we did today, together." And far below, in the quiet streets of Zyrentha, some hearts burned with hope, but others burned with hatred. Dawn broke over Zyrentha like golden fire, soft and beautiful, but the air was not peaceful. After the trial of the heart, the city stood divided. Some alien females celebrated Vera and Raylan's bond as a sign of change. Others, especially the elder males, saw it as a threat to tradition. Deep in the palace, Queen Talyra sat alone in her private chamber, staring at the stars. She was not just a ruler. She was a guardian of ancient customs. But last night, in front of her entire people, those customs had bent and they hadn't broken. Still, the cost was not yet clear. A knock echoed on the chamber wall. Vera entered. dressed in ceremonial armor. Raylan followed, calm but alert. They bowed in silence. The queen looked at them for a long time. Her face revealed nothing. "You have caused storms in my empire," she said quietly. Vera stepped forward. "My queen, we never meant to defy you. We only followed what was true." Raylan added, "We didn't choose to fall for each other. It happened. But we did choose to stand for it." The queen rose from her seat, walking slowly across the floor. "Zirentha has survived for centuries by keeping order. We have rules. We have roles. The female leads, the male follows. That balance kept us alive." She turned toward Raylan. "And now, because of one outsider, females question that balance." Raylan met her gaze. "Maybe they're not questioning the balance. Maybe they're questioning what balance really means." The queen paused. For the first time, her voice softened. "When I was young, I too asked questions. But asking brought punishment, so I followed. I became queen and I buried those questions." She looked at Vera now. "But you didn't bury anything. You brought those questions back to life." Vera didn't look away. "Because I saw truth in him." The queen stepped back and lifted a glowing orb from her table. It showed images. Young alien girls practicing human tactics. Alien males. Speaking of fairness, children drawing humans in their hollow books. Change had already started. "You gave them something," the queen said. "Hope, confusion, possibility." Then, a loud sound interrupted them. Boom. The palace shook. An explosion, small but direct, hit one of the outer towers. Guards rushed in, breathless. "Your Majesty, an attempt on the human's life." A group of old guard males led by Zarduk, they planted charges. He escaped, but they vowed to remove him by force. The queen's face turned to steel. "Where is Zarduk?" "Barricaded. In the warrior quarters. He demands exile of the human or civil war." Raylan stepped forward. "Let me speak to him." Vera grabbed his arm. "No. You barely survived his last attack." Raylan looked at her. "That's why I have to try. If I don't, they'll paint us as the danger." The queen nodded. "Very well. But you will not go alone." Moments later, Raylan and Vera entered the smoky remains of the warrior quarters. Broken walls, fire marks. The old guard stood armed, watching Raylan with hatred. Zarduk emerged, his armor cracked, his eyes wild. "You should have left when we let you, human," he growled. "You poisoned her, turned her against us." Raylan raised both hands. "I didn't turn her. She chose." "Lies," Zarduk roared. Vera stepped between them. "She chose. I chose." Zarduk snarled. "Then choose now, him or your people." Raylan said calmly, "She doesn't have to choose between us. I'm not here to rule. I'm here to live, just like you." Zarduk hesitated. Raylan continued, "You're afraid of losing control. But look around you. The world is already changing. Not because of me, but because your people are ready." The queen's voice rang out from behind them, strong and clear. "He speaks truth." Everyone turned. She had come alone. No guards, no throne. Just her and the truth. She faced Zarduk directly. "You fight for a world that no longer exists. I will not stand against the future." Then she looked at Vera. "Your bond is no longer forbidden." Gasps spread through the crowd. The queen lifted a silver band and handed it to Vera. "You may wear this, as warrior, as lover, as equal." Vera's hands trembled as she took it. Raylan looked at her with warmth in his eyes. "Is this real?" She nodded, smiling through the tears. "It is now." That night, the city of Zirentha glowed like never before. Lanterns floated high. Songs were sung in both alien and human languages. In the palace garden under twin moons, Vera and Raylan stood, hand in hand. They weren't just symbols of love, they were the start of something new. He looked at her. "Do you think they'll accept us now?" She laughed gently. "Some will, some won't. but they'll never be able to say we were afraid. He pulled her close. Then let's show them what love really looks like. And as the moons watched, above, the strongest alien warrior and the boldest human man stood together, not as enemies, not as strangers, but as one heart, forever changed.